Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I've recorded this intro a couple times already, just trying to, I don't know, sound more upbeat. I'm really tired today for some reason. Anyway, this is my first half of cleaning my kitchen. So I split it into two just to be less overwhelmed. This took about an hour and a half, which interestingly was about how long it took to clean the fridge and freezer. So it seems like that's a good length of time for me to not get overwhelmed with the cleaning. Um, I admire that some people can just clean all day and they can keep going and going. That's not me. And I think a lot of people don't like to clean for that long, so maybe some of you can relate. So I just wanted to do a more thorough cleaning of my kitchen. I've noticed around the house some of those silverfish, which bugs really gross me out, so I decided to just do a really deep clean, starting in the kitchen. That's why I started with the fridge and freezer, to just kind of take stock of what food I've got, and then moving on to the kitchen, the rest of it. So I'm trying to clear everything off the shelves and just do a really thorough clean there. You'll see my husband pop into frame a little bit. I tried to clip out the parts that have him in it as much as I could. There is my little tea infuser. Well, actually my daughter's. It's a kid tea, so it's a great pun. I did not get that for her. That was a family friend that got that for her. I think it's kind of cute. I like to keep it there. Just for whenever we have some tea. Got a little tin of green tea in there. And I've got my trusty Autobot shirt to help out. There's my pie pizza cutter, which that's always fun. As you can see, I like puns, apparently, in the kitchen. I'm also making sure to get the drawers really clean. And then later you'll see I go back with a little bit of borax, because I read that borax is great for killing silverfish. So I made sure to warn everyone that, hey, there's going to be a little bit of borax in the back of the drawers and cupboards. So just being, mindful of that when they grab things, that, hey, there might be traces of borax on it. Please, wash it off, brush it off. Don't get it in your food. I'm just honestly really sick of bugs, and this is kind of part of my mission here, is getting rid of them all in the house. Well, as much as I can. There's probably no such thing as perfect when it comes to bugs. So I'm just going through, wiping things down. There's my trusty borax that I ran and got. I kind of took a different approach to my kitchen. So everything that you end up seeing in my kitchen, that's not all the food that we have. I have a little bit of a storage area in another part of the house, just so that the most recent things are kind of into kitchen and there for us to see and use up first, and then the backup stuff, as we need to replace it, goes there. It's good to have, especially when you live somewhere hurricanes can hit. It's good to have some stuff on hand, like canned foods and non-perishables. So we try to keep a supply of that. Got some ground flaxseed there. I kind of switch between the ground flaxseed and chia seeds. As you can see, my chia seeds one is empty. And I don't really use too much of it. But it feels like I'm not using too much. I don't think you're supposed to use a ton at a time. So it lasts a while. And I'm trying to make it a little more organized in there, because it was kind of all jumbled together. It's my green tea in a tin. I got that from one of the Asian supermarkets around here. So one thing I've been thinking about as I try to recover from my burnout that I talked a little bit about in the last video is, what are some of the things that are restorative for me? Well, I know just having a clean space, a clean environment helps a lot, but the actual cleaning isn't that therapeutic for me. I don't know. It's a little more therapeutic when I am alone, because is, then I can just kind of clean in peace. But as soon as there are people around, it just hits different, you know? But the end result, ultimately, like having a clean space is super helpful. A lot less noise. I like everything to just be away and hidden. I love an empty counter. Yeah, there's just something about an empty counter that feels great. I love to see nothing on there. Oh, look, I finished that. That didn't take too long. That gave me some motivation for the rest of the stuff, which took a little longer. But I don't know. There's just something about, oh, it's my kitty. What a good interruption. Cats are always a good interruption. But yeah, you know, like once I'm alone and cleaning, it goes better. I love that cheese shredder, by the way. My aunt got that for me, and it's so much better than my old one. I'm just making sure the drawer still closes there. But this one has like a little plastic attachment in it, and it catches the cheese as it's grated. It's awesome. Dare I say great. You're going to be hearing a lot of kitchen puns. A lot of food puns. You'll probably notice this a little more later in the video. It's a little more pronounced, but I've been wearing shorts with like one leg rolled up a little bit more than the other because I have been so stressed and burned out from this last month and everything building up to that over the last years that my skin literally hurts. Like, it's painful to have anything touching my skin, especially like on that leg for some reason. I don't know. My body has a very clear sign when I'm stressed where my skin just starts to physically hurt and it's just painful. So at least when I start to feel that, now I know, hey, you better slow down and take care of yourself or this is going to get even worse. I remember several years ago, like right out of grad school, I worked somewhere, and I was only there a few months because it was just so stressful, and I was so uncomfortable with the way they did things there that my skin was just constantly hurting, and I knew I had to get out of there. I'm very lucky that I was able to and be okay financially in doing that. Kind of felt bad for the people that were trapped there. It was actually like, I felt like almost traumatized by how bad it was when I tried to leave. The person, like, one of the people there, like, kind of cornered me in my office, like, closed the door and was, like, kind of guilting me about it and saying that people were blaming that person that was trapping me. I tried to kind of let her know, hey, I'm not trying to blame you. I'm not trying to add on to that. I just need to leave for my own health. Got my playlist going. It always helps to have some music for me when I clean. I've been listening to my Transformers playlists that I have. I made one for like Optimus, one for Soundwave, one for Megatron. I think that's on the Optimus one. And then I switched to Soundwave's playlist later. It's just something about Soundwave. He's really great. I don't know. Especially the Transformers Prime one. He's just so competent and quiet. And I remember, like, even as a kid, I wished that I could just be silent and get by in the world without ever having to talk. And then I chose a career where you have to talk a bunch. So, guess I mostly got over that, but I still really like Soundwave. Okay, I gotta stop talking about Transformers because I could talk about that all day. Probably nonstop. It would be a great big info dump. Anyway, this is me loading the dishwasher up. So it's funny because whenever I load the dishwasher, I have a very specific way of doing it. Oh, there's the little cat paw cups. They're super cute. My daughter is obsessed with cats, so we got her some of those for a present that she wanted. Anyway, I have a very specific way of loading the dishwasher, and it used to cause like trouble, like argument wise, with my husband because I'm like, I want it done a certain way. I want them to be clean. And I'm sure people watching this are going to see it and be like, you're loading it wrong. Just how, I think other people are loading it wrong. But I don't know, I just want my dishes to be clean. I hate when they come out and have food on them. It grosses me out. Clean dishes shouldn't have food on them, for my standards. I like to space them apart on the bottom there enough that I know they're going to get clean. I'm just a little picky on that. Guess it's just one of my quirks. Does that count as a quirk? Probably not. I've been rereading, kind of skimming a story I wrote in 2021, and it's interesting how a year later I'm kind of still dealing with that same stuff. I kind of attribute that to going into almost like a survival mode to get through a difficult period of my life here, where I just felt so stressed and burned out. It was just kind of like, how can I survive this day and still do a good job at my job and still be a good parent and function? And that was kind of everything for me. It wasn't the time I could really self-reflect at all and keep growing and the things that I need to grow on, because we all need to keep growing constantly throughout our lives. That's how we improve and work on things, even counselors. So it's interesting because it's a lot about guilt around not being productive enough and around figuring out who you are, like how to define personality, I would say. Not like an existential crisis type thing, but in terms of like, I don't know, I just think about sometimes how I have all these traits. None of them are permanent. My identity is not my job or things that I do, because those are so unstable in a way. Something could happen and then you suddenly don't have your job anymore. Or something could happen to your abilities and then you can't do what you used to be able to do. So I always tried to not have my identity around things that I do and my abilities in that way. But then it kind of brings up the philosophical question of like, what exactly is personality? And I guess it's got to just be a fluid type of thing, At least that's what I was thinking about it. Because I'm so much more than just a few traits, And sometimes my traits shift around. Like most of the time, I'm pretty adaptable and resilient. But there are times where it's harder to adapt and be resilient. Does that mean I'm a different person? No, I'm still me. It's just some of my traits fluctuate, as everybody's do. I don't know. And then just kind of reminding myself that it's okay to rest. It's okay to take some time for myself. I especially have been feeling stressed about, dealing with building up a private practice, and I could be doing more, and there are tasks I have on my to-do list that I know I need to be doing. So just allowing myself, like, hey, it's been literally less than a week. I was even trying to just give myself this 1 month to just be in peace for a little bit. And I think that needs to be okay. I need to learn that that's okay to take time. I think I was so stressed by carrying the load of, it felt like almost everything for so long. And now having, I don't know, just the opportunity to take some of that load off and focus more on family and the home, and figuring out exactly how I want to grow my career and set those hours has just been a big change. So the biggest thing is I just really need to learn it's okay to take that time. I tried to really get under there with that sink. I remember the kitchen sink, there was like some issue with something in the faucet or the sink, and we couldn't DIY it. We had to call in a plumber, and he had trouble getting it off too. He's like, oh, okay, I can see why you called us. Like, first of all, I feel a little bit judged there. Like, I'm calling you, of course, because I'm having trouble doing something, and I have almost zero skill set in this. And anyway, so he did fix it, but he was also like, whatever it was with his company, was he was supposed to go around and just check all the plumbing in the house, and that was a bit weird. He was like, are you okay with me doing this? I'm like, I guess so, but I'm not paying you for anything else. There's my little recycling bin that I colored on with my daughter. Can't draw arrows very straight. One day I'd like to redo that. This is another instance of me liking everything to just be hidden and out of sight and having clear counters, because I even put my blender under the sink. I don't want to see it. Maybe it switched to the Soundwave playlist there. That's why I showed that. Who knows? As you can see, I have way too many bags in there. Hopefully I can take some of those plastic bags, because we have so many, and just drop them off at the recycling that Walmart has. I think it's kind of cool that they have that plastic bag recycle. My short self, unable to like reach up there all the way because I'm gonna have to climb on the counter again here. I don't know why, like, it's such a stigma for men to be short. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, like, you can't even control height. Whatever. I usually put the stuff on that counter is like where I put my stuff to dry when I take it out of the dishwasher and it's still wet, because I don't like to use a rag on it to dry it. It just leaves, I don't know, sometimes it leaves hair, sometimes it leaves fibers, and that grosses me out. Very particular about my food stuff being clean. So anyway, I'm just moving it all over there. That feels like the morning cupboard. I've got like coffee stuff in there, and I either love like really terrible coffee, like that instant coffee you just saw, or really fancy coffee. There's no in between. Apparently my dad is like that too. And then I've got all our vitamins in there. So just the morning cupboard. Take vitamins, drink coffee, then go to the fridge and get some kombucha. I held up the cupcake liners there because we basically never use them anymore. I learned in my efforts to be more sustainable that I can just grease the cupcake pans and just pour the batter directly into the cupcake pan. Then I don't have to waste a liner. So we've had those liners just hanging around for like years because now I don't need to use them. But I guess I should use them up, get it over with. That way it won't be cluttering up the house. So nobody wants like used cupcake liners. Like that isn't something you can really donate. And for some reason that cupboard, it wasn't too bad wiping up, but the next cupboard that I go through with all the like Tupperware had some sticky spot in it. I have no idea why. I thought that was kind of strange. because what's like sticky on the Tupperware, you know? I don't know. I don't think I want to know. I'm probably better off not knowing. I had to cut out a part earlier in this video, or maybe it's coming up later, but at some point where my daughter gets home and just starts like dancing in front of the camera, and I was like, I'm recording, and I don't really want to put you online for everyone to see, so maybe don't. And she was like, oh, yeah. And then she started just crawling across the floor. Like, she didn't even need anything in the kitchen. She just started crawling across the floor to see if she could get by without being seen on camera, like, just for fun. Like, okay. Have at it, kid. So funny. She came out of her room the other day dressed in her Optimus Prime costume, and it was like 9:30 at night. She'd already been read to for the night, so it was bedtime. And she just comes out and goes, I am Optimus Prime. And I'm like, oh, did you commit any crimes, Optimus? And she says, yes, I threw a human's car. So, yeah, like that's technically a crime. So, better than some of the other crimes she could have mentioned. There's just a bunch of like random stuff on that top shelf. There's a popsicle making kit that I got for like 50 cents on clearance. We had another one. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's like deep in the part that I can't reach, like way in the back. I don't know who can like easily reach into cupboards like that. Maybe if you're like 6 feet tall, I don't know. But I can't physically reach all the way back there without great effort, and I was not ready for that great effort. I got a bunch of these glass containers to use because I don't know, there's such mixed information on sustainability in terms of glass versus, you know, plastic. So I know you have to look at the whole life cycle of things. You know, that's what I have learned from Shelvizzle on YouTube, one of my favorite YouTubers that I watch. So, I don't know. That aside, because I am far less knowledgeable on that, I got the glass ones to use instead of plastic ones, just for the purpose of not having the chemicals from the plastic seep into my food. So, I don't know if there's any information on that in terms of like the truth on that. Yeah, maybe someone could leave that in the comments. But I figured better be safe than sorry, and I've already got the glass, so it's kind of too late. But I do like them. I used to use those when I brought my lunches to work. So a quick thought before we end here, we're almost done, is about just parenting and how we have to be really mindful of our own triggers. I was thinking about this morning and how it started out great, and then my daughter and I had a disagreement where, you know, I had told her I wasn't going to help her with something. She was screaming and crying and insisting, which is very unlike her, for me to help her on it. And I could feel myself getting angry. I had to go remove myself from the room. And after she and I both kind of self-regulated, we were able to come back together after that, which I was really grateful for. And she was able to say, like, hey, I didn't like when you did this. And I was able to say, like, this is where I was coming from. I didn't like when you did this. And we were both able to kind of understand each other's viewpoints, which I'm really grateful for. I mean, that took a lot of work over the years to make sure that she feels validated and listened to when she does have a grievance with me, where I'm able to, you know, apologize to her. I think it's important to apologize to your kids when you're wrong. So we were able to work that out, and then the rest of the morning was great again. And sometimes it's hard as a parent because you don't know how things are going to affect your kids down the line. Like, is she going to be an adult one day and say, you know what, you really screwed up on this, Dad? I want to be able to say, like, yeah, I sounds like I did, and here's how I'm gonna do better in the future. And I'm glad that she's able to verbalize things now, but it'll be really interesting as an adult seeing, like, what did I do right, what did I do wrong. And I know we can see some of that now, but sometimes it's hard to tell until they're old enough to really reflect on it and speak about it on a deeper level like that. So here I am, just finishing up the last drawer. Below that is the trash can. So I'm pretty happy with how much I got done. Looking forward to getting the other half over with and how I want it. It'd be nice if things just stayed clean once you clean them. But, unsweetened applesauce. My daughter loves that. But yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with how this turned out, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video when I get the second half finished. Thank you all for coming by today and watching and listening to me, and drop a comment below. Thank you. Bye.